we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single-player experience, and then taking away support in the future, this ain't it.
But if I did a response video, which is not something I wanted to do anyway, then it might look like drama farming, which could understandably turn off a lot of people from the campaign.
This is shit. It's shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to.
I cannot believe his ego. His ego is so out of control, I feel like he's only a week or two away from exclusively referring to himself in third person.
Honestly, the more I revisit a lot of PirateSoftware's words, the more I wonder, why are you so against something that is entirely possible?
You want my honest opinion of the guy? I think he just needs to learn how to apologize and mean
what
it.
appears to be lied about his experience, or at the very minimum, played it off.
From the looks of it, and in my opinion, it doesn't seem to me he's ever worked as an actual game developer within
He has
the
become
industry,
so
and it doesn't seem like he's ever
unlikable
done
in
much
his endeavor
progress
to
in the
hate
industry.
and
I'm
never
not
want
going to
to
say that
change
anyone
himself.
else is
The opposite
serious
saying
about
is that
it.
he has become the
I have no idea why he thought that.
I hope that your initiative gets everything you asked for, but nothing you wanted.
The internet has always been such an interesting topic to discuss. Because on one hand, the internet has had such a profoundly positive impact on our lives, providing a means of communicating with others in ways which weren't possible before. Now, instead of needing to go out there to find your little circle, you can build up communities from the comfort of your own home and find a place where you can say you truly belong. You could even potentially create a massive following for yourself, and when you have something to say, you can say it and be heard by thousands or maybe even millions of people. But funny enough, the internet also leads to the opposite happening. There are times when being able to say whatever you want without any serious consequences lead to division, and sometimes people can say so much that it silences another group. They get lost in the noise of everything that's going on. This problem, as you can probably guess, is most apparent on social media platforms. YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, basically anywhere a massive following can be built. You know what I'm talking about. You can literally pick any example from the list. The list is longer than Santa's naughty list. But the first thing that comes to mind for me, and probably a lot of people recently, is cancel culture. How easy it is for a group of people to kind of latch onto a story in order to bring somebody else down. That's not to say no one deserves to be canceled. But if cancel culture were truly and universally accepted, it wouldn't have such a negative connotation behind it. And while that's definitely one of the major downsides to using these social media platforms, I think the root of the problem stems from somewhere else. There's something seated within the structure of these sites that helps snowball this process up to a point where it can get so big it can't be stopped once it starts. And the thing that's really at the center of everything is the algorithm. It's the way in which people need to either say or create their ideas in order to spread them around to a wider audience, and if you want your voice to be heard, sometimes it's the only way. This comes in many forms, but one of the most common ways is by drama. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with drama-based content, sometimes people can bandwagon in a way that not only hurts the individuals involved, but also shifts the attention away from the real issue and the actual people responsible. I'm saying this because recently there's been some internet drama that caught my eye. And I'm not usually one to partake in these drama discussions because I'm too busy with other stuff. But I just found it interesting how much this says about people in general, and hopefully what I'm saying makes sense to anyone taking the time to watch this video. Because as the title suggests, I really do believe the algorithm is designed to put us up against each other more often than not. And while I was scrolling through the chaos of all this drama, I was thinking, man, this is a lot. So without further ado, let's get into the meat of this video. Now, for those of you who spend a healthy amount of time out in the sun, I'll briefly talk about this movement called Stop Killing Games. There's a link to the movement in the description below for anyone wanting more information about this, but for those who don't know what's going on, essentially, this guy started an online petition against video game publishers shutting down their online services for games that people have already purchased. He's pretty much fighting for you to have the right to be able to play the game you've purchased even after its end of life cycle, and this covers any type of game, whether it's a single player game or a multiplayer game. For example, a couple of years ago, a game called Knockout City shut down their multiplayer servers due to the difficulty of making major changes to attract and retain players with a limited team size. But instead of leaving the game in an unplayable state, the team created a private server addition to their game, allowing people to host their own servers and customize their lobbies. This petition, created by the man you see on the screen right now, aims to make this a mandatory practice for game companies rather than something optional. And once the petition gets enough signatures, it will be submitted to the European Commission in hopes of passing a law that would both protect consumer rights to retain video games that customers have purchased and advance preservation efforts. This movement launched on April 2nd of last year and has been getting a steady following since. Then this guy, this guy made these two videos. These videos were meant to kind of critique the movement, arguing that, you know, it's not addressing the right issues, that the message isn't being communicated in a way that these government officials can really understand, the movement is too vague. He had a lot to say about this. But for me at least, when I was watching these videos, I thought his main point was, it's just not economically feasible for these companies to keep live service games up when the player base becomes too low to support. Now obviously there's a lot more nuance to what he's saying. I only really scratched the surface of his points, but regardless, his videos got a lot of traction. And since then, support for the movement has slowed down. Well, not really, not drastically, because if you look at the petition signature tracker, the numbers are still rising, just not at the pace you'd expect for a movement like this. So around 10 months pass, and Ross Scott fires back against PirateSoftware. Ross is pretty much saying that PirateSoftware, or store, is completely misrepresenting what this whole movement is about, and in doing so, spreading a lot of misinformation. For example, Ross argued that PirateSoftware was putting heavy emphasis on single-player games, and how this movement could potentially convert multiplayer games into a single-player game experience, which is just not what the movement is trying to do.
Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically, we don't want single-player games to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them.
Ross also pushed back against claims of the petition being too vague, stating that the parts store believed were unclear were actually already explained in his original video, and that misunderstanding led to a lot of people not wanting to support the movement. This whole back and forth caught a lot of attention, and eventually some big YouTubers took notice. They made their own videos about it, and for the most part, many sided with Ross Scott. A lot of people felt like PirateSoftware was missing the point of the movement, and now folks are upset for a variety of reasons. Some are mad because he's not taking accountability for misinforming people. Some people think he's purposefully leading others astray because he himself is a game dev, and some people just think he's an egotistical asshole. But regardless of the specifics, this thing just got bigger and bigger, and because of that, the hate towards PirateSoftware also escalated. Over the past couple of weeks, it feels like someone is releasing a new video on this every other day, and those videos are getting a lot of attention as well. YouTubers I've never heard of showed into my suggestion feed with more and more incriminating things to say about him. Wait, this dude made 15 videos on this guy? Yo, my man is hurt! Some people even made videos questioning his competence as a game developer, analyzing the code he shares on stream and looking through his social profiles like GitHub to further question if his accomplishments are actually legit. Now, I don't want to harp on the whole Stop Killing Games movement, nor the credibility of these people any longer than I need to. Again, this video isn't about who's right or wrong in the movement itself. I mean, you can look that up and come to your own conclusions. It's about how this whole situation is a perfect example of how the algorithm feels an environment that, especially amongst other content creators, is in many ways self-destructive. Because when these YouTubers say this about PirateSoftware,
the smugness is nails on a chalkboard. It just makes you feel icky listening to it.
Someone like PirateSoftware has gone out and done a horrible video on it, misrepresenting what it is.
He's been literally scamming and fucking with his own fans for years.
These are valid criticisms that people should have the freedom to say. There's nothing wrong with voicing your opinion, no matter how much influence you have. But the massive wave that a lot of people created resulted in something like this.
Trying to say that a rescue is an animal horde. I've been called a pedophile, zoophile, rapist, corporate plant, degenerate, narcissist, nepo baby, and many other names. And they attacked all the accomplishments over my life, despite physical evidence to prove to the contrary. And they also went after every job I ever held, trying to say that I never worked them, or if I did work them, that I never deserved them. So I'm going to be honest with you. I hope that your initiative gets everything you asked for, but nothing you wanted. And I'll leave it there.
Now, before moving on, I want to make this 100% clear. I don't think any of these creators, even the ones who've made more extreme videos, wanted this to be the result. Obviously, I can't speak for anyone else's behalf, but I'd like to believe that these individuals don't find joy in seeing random people online making claims of extreme crimes and harassment. And I also like to believe that even PirateSoftware knows that this isn't the case. But regardless of intention, here is where we are. From the minute this drama has started, the petition has reached its goal of 1 million signatures in 2 weeks. And even now it's still growing. At the time of this recording, it's sitting at 1.4 million, well beyond what anyone initially expected. This is a massive accomplishment and a win for gaming in general. No doubt about it. But was it really necessary for this to happen in order to get there? You could make the argument that PirateSoftware kind of just did it to himself and could have easily avoided this situation by admitting fault. And while there is truth to that, I'm not quite sure it would have stopped videos like these from being made when they don't have anything to do with the movement in the first place. Because now from these events, it brings up the question of who actually cares for the movement and who's solely using it for their own benefit. And if you do care for the movement, how much do you care what these people do if it's increasing your support? Well, one thing I feel comfortable saying is I'm pretty sure Ross cares. I hope. He doesn't strike me as a nefarious individual by any means, but you know who doesn't care? This guy. The algorithm just wants to push the videos that could potentially make it the most money. And unfortunately, no matter what your intentions are or how much you care, there's gonna be a lot of people who will use the algorithm for their own benefit. Oh, that doesn't sound right anymore. Now, this isn't anything new by any means, and I do believe most people understand the workings of this system. But I also believe that understanding doesn't always stop people from doing whatever the heck they're gonna do. Okay, you can't be here anymore. When you're here, nothing sounds right. The idea of what an obvious thing is can be subjective. You know, because people grow up in different environments, they meet different people. But for the sake of an example, let's use the idea of being careful with what you download online. Most of us know to stay safe online, whether it's being mindful about the information we post, the applications you download, or the advertisements you click. And yet, despite that, a lot of people still download sketchy software and end up with viruses, sometimes even causing major data breaches. This definitely isn't the perfect example, but it does highlight the fact that on paper, things may sound obvious, but in practice, even the obvious isn't really that obvious. This part might be a bit out of scope for this video, but recently I stumbled upon a guy named Josh Johnson. He's a stand-up comedian and writer for The Daily Show, and his videos have been blowing up for the past couple of years. He posts some of his stand-up skits on his YouTube channel, and he talks about a lot of trending topics like the whole Trump versus manga situation or the rise of incel culture, with a lot of thought-provoking moments. But what I really want to focus on is this video. In it, he talks about how Airbnb and over-tourism are making life extremely difficult for locals in certain countries, so much so that protests have begun to spread in response. Now, while this video itself doesn't directly relate to this current situation, there's one part that I think does. You see, near the end, he references the whole process of how Airbnb enables over-tourism as a system. And while he obviously isn't talking about algorithms or internet drama, what he says about systems rings true in a much broader sense.
Whether it's business or whether it's government, systems have a magnificent way of pitting us against each other. Obviously, with all this tourism, Airbnbs are shooting up. Airbnbs raise the price of living in the area, so then people are getting priced out of their homes. They're getting priced out of the areas that they grew up in. They have to find somewhere else to live, all for people who don't live here. And that can be incredibly frustrating, but that's the people who are coming to visit didn't come up with a master plan. Airbnb and the government that allows Airbnb to run rampant are the people to blame. That's the main way that systems get to stay intact. They see this, Airbnb sees it, and local government sees it, and they're like, well, we get to rake in money while the people that live here blame somebody else. Why would we ever change our practices?
As you can probably tell, this video is heavily influenced by that idea because I really do think it's a message people need to be aware of. The algorithm is also clearly a system too, and while the algorithm operates under its own intricate functions, the goal of it is the same as any other system, which is to be as efficient as possible at doing what it was designed to do. So when you have a system that favors both conflict and drama, you end up with the perfect environment where the people who deserve criticisms usually get left out, and the people who actually care about what's going on end up biting each other. So in doing all this, all we did was make a mass amount of videos targeting one man's personality and career, which coincidentally got enough signatures for a petition that has a chance of passing, which then will go to government officials who probably have no idea what the scope of gaming is about, nor want to look anything about it up. And if they deem that this petition doesn't provide them with either money or power, they can just say, yeah, just buy the game or don't. And I want to emphasize the we part of this video, because when I say that we are using the algorithm in a way to allow our voice to be heard by more people, I actually do mean we, because whether I like it or not, me making this video makes me part of the system as well. But if I'm forced to be a part of the system, the least I can do is maybe put another perspective out there that I think a lot of people actually understand but don't voice out all the time. I don't think this video will really change much or make whatever is happening any better, but I think this video is a win if I can remind a couple of people that the internet isn't just filled with, you know, white and black opinions all the time. There might be some people in the gray, you never know. So for anyone who made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. I don't really know where I am, nor do I know how to film an outro, so I'm just kind of using this time to pretend like I'm talking to someone so I don't get kidnapped.